It must be Friday morning. I'm talking to my pal Bob. Bob, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, Amos. How are you doing today?
Well, I understand, like any top-notch athlete, you're playing hurt today. You got a little.
Got a little bit of a head cold going on. Sometimes it makes me sound like a jazz singer, and sometimes it makes me just sound like I'm sick. But I'm good.
All right, let's jump into it.
We could probably edit that out, by the way.
Let's jump into it. We have been talking about fixing knowledge in the contact center since the Clinton administration. And for those of you who don't,
I think it was before the Clinton administration, but we'll go with that. That's pretty good.
George
That's
H.
pretty good. That's pretty good.
And for those of you who don't know who Bill Clinton was, he used to be president. No, not wrong show, wrong show. And I actually remember seeing technology demos that claimed to fix this thing 20 years ago. They're like, yeah, here's the thin, you put the thin in, and knowledge will be fixed. Fast forward to the year of our Lord 2024, and every customer service employee that I talk to is putting me on hold, let me look that up. And knowledge is still a friggin' mess. And so I guess my question is knowledge one of those things that, like peace in the Middle East, we're just never going to get in our lifetime? Like, why are we still here?
So I think it's a journey and not an end game.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to put a positive spin on it when I say that. Man, you nailed it. We have heard from so many vendors that they were going to solve this. It first came from vendors that were standalone vendors that said they were going to solve it. And then companies started saying they were KMS certified, they were going to solve it. And then the big CRMs all built it into their application, but they still didn't solve it. You know, I'm like you. I remember seeing the voice of the agent, the voice of the customer,
Right.
and a third window that was automatically being updated. But where knowledge, it's gotten bigger in its scope.
Correct.
And so I'm not sure that there is a solution today that does what you're saying you wanted 20 years ago.
Yeah. And I think to that point, it feeds a theme that has happened to our industry and almost every industry, which was that we always thought about knowledge as a thin, as opposed to like this thing you can control, put in a little box, have a system, off you go. And knowledge is a friggin' hurricane, right? Like it's everywhere. It's amorphous. It's in emails. No matter how much you try, and so I want to. You said you are optimistic. You know, as you look ahead, we've spent these 20 years dabbling. Do you see a path to fixing knowledge for that service agent?
Well, I realize that I'm going to sound like every vendor and every sales guy in America right now, but I think generative AI is the next best hope for solving the problem.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Here we go. I think that generative AI has the ability to pull information from multiple applications in the company. So the applications like SharePoint and chat and file shares and texting apps and chat apps and pulling all that information into itself and then being able to quickly identify answers within that data. So the problem, Amos, is that the data probably wasn't designed for Chat GPT to use it. I realize that Chat GPT is supposed to be able to, it's the all powerful, it's the
Right.
grab everything, dice and slice it, and then put it into a list and then summarize it and then give me an answer to give to the customer. That's the utopia we're looking for. But most likely the problem is that marketing, if I turn that on today in my contact center, marketing answers the question one way, the internal communication answers the question another way. And then there is the answer to the question that I want to give to a customer. So the tough part will be the same thing that we've experienced for the last 20 years since the Clinton administration, which is that quandary. Like, how do I get all that into a system? It used to be that would then understand it and write an if then phrase. If the customer asks this, then tell them this. We're now using generative AI, which doesn't require that information, but it does require it to be taught. There is
Yeah,
a learning that has to occur in that chat.
I would challenge you and say that I wonder if the bigger hurdle is the human and the process side of this. Sort of meaning, as you and I are having this conversation, the way we hold service people or contact center people accountable is you are responsible for giving the customer the right information. So you have to search the information, find the information, and sort through what is the right information to give this customer and this agent. If not, you're getting dinged on that QA thing, right? If you are correct, and I think you are, that we find a system that can do all of the hunting and pecking and just serve the information up to you right then and there. Are you going to allow that agent, that representative, to make the judgment, right? Like you gotta take the answer and put it in context of this customer right now. I'll give you an example, right? So, if I called yesterday and asked for a credit and the answer in the system says a customer is allowed $20 courtesy credit, right? If you don't add any other if and statements to that, if I call again tomorrow, are you going to give me another $20 statement? So, like, there's still that judgment piece. And I think organizations have this idea that the agent cannot be trusted to make those judgments. So, what they judge an agent on is you are going to sift through our knowledge base, not only understand it, pick the right one, and also follow the policy to the letter as you understand it. So I see a conflict coming where we are going to solve the searching for information problem, but we're not going to solve the human and process problem that came with it. Remember, we had pretty good tools before generative AI, Bob. And why didn't knowledge get that much better? It didn't get that much better because there's a hard work to what you just said of training the humans. Now you got to train the bots and the humans. There was a hard work of accepting that knowledge is imperfect. You and I used to do those workshops when we would say them, people will freak out. I'll give you a real life example, Bob. There is a healthcare client that we are working with use generative AI to do knowledge. And their concern was, listen, knowledge has to be perfect. This is healthcare. So we said, well, listen, let's just have generative AI be the auditor of knowledge. So it will read and listen to what your people are telling customers. It will read what you have in your policy. And every there's a conflict, it'll just flag it and said, hey, I just heard Joe tell this customer X, this is what you have in the policy.
That's going to be a tough couple of weeks when we turn that on. Right? They have no idea how much bad information is being given.
So
Not on purpose. Nobody's trying to sabotage anything. Agents want to tell the right answer, but that's going to be an interesting couple of weeks.
So we did the readout.
Okay.
And we told them it was 47% error rate.
Good.
Right. And of course they got defensive and we're like, look, it has audit logs. So they went and audited it themselves. And they came back and go, holy moly. And, they were freaking out. They were sending stuff to compliance. And I said, just calm down. What I'm saying to you is today, as we sit here in a healthcare, highly regulated environment, it is so complicated that close to half the time, and now the error rate could be as simple as, it could be as big as the person actually should get the coverage and you're telling them no. Or it could be as simple as you got one part of it wrong. But the bottom line is they're getting it wrong all of the time. So this technology can only make us better, but it starts first by you. So I guess it's a long way, Bob, to ask you, how do we change the hearts and minds of contact center leaders? I think they are the problem here and the management overall. That this whole knowledge and information sharing thing is an imperfect game to begin with. And all technology can do, if you do it correctly, is to continue to help you. You called it a journey without a destination, however you framed it. I am now getting there with you. But part of that is accepting first and foremost that today we're not doing it well. And I cannot get the average contact center leader to just admit that knowledge today is a mess. Do you hear the same things when you talk to folks?
Yeah, and I think that that has been proven by the fact that in the best way to build knowledge prior to Chat GPT was to have your agents write knowledge articles. Like when I find a knowledge article that I know is wrong, that I change it, and then it goes through an approval process, but it's live. I trust my agents to be knowledge workers. Whenever you sit in front of a customer and tell them that's the process, they go, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, that's not what knowledge is in our brains.
Correct.
Knowledge in my brain is recollection of what I think the answer is. Knowledge in my brain is the need to continuously learn and improve what my knowledge is. And I think you have to look at knowledge. You know, we said digital channels. We said chat was a digital channel. Okay, so it's a channel. We said Facebook messaging was a channel.
Right.
Okay, so let's look at knowledge as an agent in your contact center. Now, we want that agent to get better. We want that agent to be perfect. But we know the agent is not going to be perfect on day one. And we know that they're going to be more close to perfect on day 21. So that's what knowledge in my mind is, because it is about making the agent smarter. So
Correct.
how do we build systems and accept processes that allow the agent to learn and to be better and to answer questions better?
Yeah,
your concept of auditing after the fact, of just
yeah,
letting them use the knowledge that we believe is it. But if I take that a step further, now I've got knowledge that the knowledge didn't help. And that's where AI is magic. It has the ability that's beyond our cognitive power to
correct.
go, okay, 48% of this knowledge wasn't used. Which 48% do I need to pull to the top and bring to the
That's
outside?
it. That's it. It's that speed. So Bob, let's leave some folks with, contact center leaders who listen to our show. What can they do right now? What would you advise if you're listening and you're running contact center around knowledge? What should you be doing?
Well, I think they probably get tired of us telling them that they need to read more and learn more and do more, but
No, they want the damn easy button,
they don't
Bob.
they don't have any time. But if I'm a knowledge director or knowledge manager or if I'm a contact center director, manager, or supervisor, I need to understand AI. I need to understand what it's capable of and what it possibly can do. And the quicker that I make that part of what my expectations and goals are, the better chance I am of making myself valuable to the company that I work for. So I need to understand knowledge from the inside out. I mean, AI from as it relates to knowledge from the
Right.
inside out. How
Right.
is that going to work? And then I also need to look at my data that I'm going to feed into the knowledge system. Is there anything that I can do to upgrade all of the documentation that's in Dropbox, all of the documentation that's in SharePoint? You know, the company that I worked for most recently, I would get an article from I'm sorry, not from 19. That really would be bad. From 2022 or 2021 or 2019. and you realize that, wow, there's got to have been some kind of update in the
Of course.
information since 2019. Getting data ready is also that. But
I'm with you, and I'll build on what you just said. This is the advice I would give you when you think about this. Bob's absolutely right. I mean, I hate that we're bringing up AI and Gen AI, and we're doing it because it's absolutely the right thing, and this is an area that will really help. But the way I would encourage you to think about it is what Bob said. If you have a team or someone who's responsible for knowledge, keeping it up to date and what have you, or a team, that's the job you should use AI to augment the most. Stop thinking about it as we're going to turn the human into a machine. AI is going to tell it exactly what to say. That's not real. There's always context. There's always all of that.
that is true.
The horrible job, the thankless job, the unwinnable job of keeping content up to date, that's the job you want to outsource to AI above all else. This whole process of how do we make sure these articles are up to date all the time? How do we make sure people are saying the right things? How do we retire articles? Which ones are not being used? Which ones do like that job, have AI do that for you and leave the human thing to the humans. Right? Like, does that resonate, Bob?
It does. It does. The augmentation of the knowledge worker is what you're hoping that AI is going to do. It's going to augment the work, the way we do knowledge today. And there's some companies that do it well, but they're the companies that have invested in a team to manage it. Like I can name one from 10 years ago or 15 years ago that I walked in and I was blown away by how well their knowledge was, how quickly an agent could find an answer. But there was a team of 7 people sitting over in the corner doing nothing but working on knowledge.
That's it.
And I realized that, a lot of times we talk to a customer about knowledge and they go, oh, my trainer will handle that. And that's just, this is the wave of the future. This is the technology of the future that says we're going in this direction. We're going to make workers smarter. And in my mind, it's bigger than bots. This has the ability to be bigger than whatever 9%, 8%, 5% that you're going to push to a bot. This is bigger than that. This is because this is helping agents become smarter.
I love it. That's a good place to leave it there. You heard it here first. Bob said this is bigger than all of your chatbots. I happen to agree with him on this, by the way. So, Bob, any parting wisdom before we get out of here?
I found a really cool quote about knowledge from John Nesbitt, who's a Forbes futurist. He said, "We're drowning in information, but starved for knowledge." And that's the biggest place that sort of nails what we have been talking about in one sentence. That we have all this information about how to help the customer, but we don't have the knowledge in front of us to help it.
I know I couldn't agree more, and I'll just frame the same thing differently, right? I think about it as we have a cognitive metabolism problem. Like you're consuming so much calories of knowledge and content. How do you process it? How do you make sense of it? And my hope, I'm sure, as with yours, is can AI help us with that? Can it help us filter out the noise? I think one last thing would be you should be aiming to have AI reduce the amount of knowledge your agent sees, right? Like take out all the noise and present to them the real thing. Like stop making them work so hard for it. I think most agents will agree that will make their lives easier. Bob, awesome seeing you again. Thank you for playing Hurt. And for those listening, please, we are back better than ever. Go subscribe, share with your friends. You have the option to ask us questions on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Reach out to us and reach out to Bob and myself on LinkedIn or wherever you can find us. Bob, good seeing you, man.
Good to see you also.